CNN anchor threatens to cut the mic on DOGE advisor. What?
Don't spend that DOGE dividend quite yet. I'm Michael Smerconish in Philadelphia. DOGE, they say they're about to show us the money. The Department of Government Efficiency, led by Elon Musk, is claiming to have saved taxpayers approximately $55 billion through various cost-cutting measures. They're breaking down how they claim they're doing it on the department's website.
Yeah.
For example, just yesterday, DOGE published its latest cost-cutting measure. They say that it resulted in a value of up to $235 million in savings. It's also pointing out wasteful spending with posts like this, showing how taxpayers spent over $20 million on a boarded-up building over the course of 20 years. There's also a wall of receipts listing savings on the website detailing canceled contracts and terminated leases as part of the department's, they say, transparency initiative.
Yeah.
And now there's a new potential layer to these DOGE savings that's gaining steam across social media to give us some of that money back.
Those are pennies, by the way? Okay, then give them to me.
It's called the DOGE dividend, and it was explained in a 4-page plan that was introduced this week on X.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Breaking down how every taxpayer would get a $5,000 tax refund check funded exclusively with a portion of the total savings delivered by DOGE
There's a better chance DOGE is going to give you a unicorn. Really. Like, it's probably not going to happen. But, I mean, it's funny to think about.
As Musk's goal of $2 trillion in federal savings is met. The tweet was from an investor and CEO, James Fishback, who's been a guest at Mar-a-Lago and has ties to both Trump and former DOGE official Vivek Ramaswamy. Well, the idea grabbed Elon Musk's attention, who replied he'd checked with the president. It appears that he did, because one day later, President Trump expressed interest in this proposal.
Okay.
There's even under consideration a new concept where we give 20% of the DOGE savings to American citizens and 20% goes to paying down debt, because the numbers are incredible.
So with attention comes scrutiny. With DOGE, the accuracy of its reported savings being called into question. For instance, an initial claim of saving $8 billion by canceling a single Immigration and Customs Enforcement ICE contract was later revised to $8 million after discovering a clerical error. And that's not all. Critics are calling Musk out for the haphazard way that he's approaching cost cutting. There's the firings, then rehirings across agencies, questions about transparency, conflicts of interest. The true dollar amount of these savings being questioned.
I don't see where the conflict of interest thing comes in. I mean, haven't they both addressed that like 7 times? I feel like that's already been defined.
The long-term impact of the overhaul. Well, who better to answer some of these questions than James Fishback, the CEO of Azoria, the originator of the DOGE dividend. James, thank you for being here. How did this all come to pass?
Well, good morning, Michael. To tell you the truth, it came to me in a dream. I woke up, I called our
All right, okay. Your nation's a joke? I don't know. It seems like a pretty good dream to me.
head of research at Azoria. We met at Capitol Grill. We fleshed this thing out in 2 hours, and I'm honored that the president has endorsed it. This is a real plan to send the savings that DOGE generates over the next couple of years right back into the pockets of hardworking Americans all across this country. They deserve it. It was their money in the first place, and they need a break.
Okay, I'm all for ridding the government of waste, fraud, and abuse. But at some level, isn't it all illusory? In other words, if there's a quote-unquote savings made by Elon Musk and DOGE, we're still $36 trillion in debt. So there's...
So let me get this straight. The logic is that because we already have a bunch of debt, we might as well just keep spending money? Like, I don't understand this at all. And also, if this was illusory, then why did we give out COVID stimulus checks? We already have a principle for this. There's a precedent for this. It happened like 3 years ago. What do you mean?
There's no pie to cut up. There's no slice of the pizza that I can hand back to you unless we continue to borrow those funds.
Our plan's really simple. Over the next couple of years, DOGE will save
You
a
think
set
they forgot
amount
about
of
the
money.
COVID stimulus?
We're going to take 20% of that and put it right back in the hands of taxpayers. The other 80, as President Trump has pointed out, will go back to paying down the debt and narrowing the deficit. Here's the truth, Michael. For every $5 that DOGE saves, as we believe calculated by the Congressional Budget Office, when this whole project is said and done next summer, for every $5, $1 goes back to the pockets of American taxpayers. Here's why.
Jesus, bro. Like, this guy got a default resting face like a Starfield in PC. This is not. What's it? Damn, bro.
They sent their money to D.C. to be spent in America, not to be abused, not to be disrespected, and not to be defrauded. That $20 million to Iraqi Sesame Street, that money sent for a transgender opera in Colombia, all at the same time, Michael, that we have roads and bridges crumbling. We're losing 900 Americans every day.
I don't even care about the money. I care about where the money went. I bet that opera probably wasn't even that good. I want a detailed balance sheet of that opera. I want to know who was in charge of it, and I think they should get audited. Let's get their tax returns. Let's go ahead and do an audit of their finances. That's what I want to see happen. That's where I'm at. Because I don't even think they're getting their transgender opera. We're spending all this fucking money. They don't even get it. Or if they do, it sucks.
Deaths of despair, alcoholism, and suicide. 8 out of 10 black American fourth graders are not even reading at grade level. This is pathetic.
What?
10 black American day to deaths of despair, alcoholism, and suicide. 8 out of 10 black American fourth graders are not even reading at grade level. This is pathetic.
What the
Americans
fuck?
sent their money to be spent in America. They were defrauded. They were lied to. They now deserve restitution. And the second point that President Trump, just one sec, Michael. The second point that President Trump brought up on Air Force One is that these DOGE dividends will incentivize Americans to report waste, fraud, and abuse in their own community. Why? Why? Because the more that DOGE saves, the bigger their DOGE dividend check will be. Remember, in economics, show me the incentive and I'll show you the outcome. We're giving every American.
I'm going to get to the economics. Come
Go
on,
ahead.
I gave you a chance for a great sound bite. You got and those soft power exercises make for great sound bites. But when you drill down,
it's not having a transgender opera isn't soft power. It's just retarded. Like, what is that? What are we thinking? Like, really? It's crazy. What are you talking about?
For example, on Sesame Street in Iraq, they often make sense. Joseph Nye from Harvard, who gets credited with the coinage of the word soft power, you know, you'd rather spend on that than bullets. But wait. You want to talk about
there was
the
a terrorist attack in Iraq last month that killed 40 people. It's clearly not working.
Yeah, I mean, is the solution, so if the soft power, so basically, if the logic is that this soft power reduces the probability of having bad things happen, then how many Sesame Street plays do you think that we should have? Because, like, obviously one isn't enough. Because if we're still having terrorist attacks over there, they're not working. So maybe 5, 7, 12, maybe once a week. How many is it going to take to make these bombs stop exploding? There has to be the math on this, right? Why should we care about terrorist attacks in Iraq at all? That's a great question. Yeah, I don't think it's the U.S. taxpayers' responsibility to care about terrorist attacks that are in Iraq. Great point.
Power and Sesame Street are not working. If there are terrorists, we need to kill the terrorists. We don't need to fund Big Bird and Elmo.
Maybe the terrorist would have been better off watching Big Bird than learning in a madrasa.
So he's saying we need more Sesame Street plays in Iraq. What is it? Like, I don't understand. Like, you see the video. Like, how is this possible? How, like, is there any thinking to this at all? This is amazing. There's no answer. I don't even understand this at all. Depends if the government divide up their nose. Dive up their nose. Otherwise, you don't need to care. Well, this is my mindset. Is that why the fuck are we in Iraq at all? Now, I'm speaking as an American, so I can't understand Iraqi culture. But what I can understand is that if I had another nation that is trying to forcefully push its agenda in my country, that would annoy me. And I wouldn't like that. So when I hear this, I bet there's a lot of guys in Iraq that are like, what the fuck are they doing trying to come over here and tell us how to live? You already bombed us. You destabilized our fucking country. You killed our leader. And you think we had nukes. We didn't have any nukes, by the way. Everything's fucked up now. And now you want us to look at Sesame Street and tell us that we're right? You're going to Big Bird us out of being mad about the weapons of mass destruction debacle? I don't fucking think that's going to happen. Really, you think about it. It's insane. Big Bird is the solution to terrorism. Well, I don't know about Big Bird, but I know One Piece certainly isn't.
Let me make my point. Put on the screen from the Peterson Foundation. This is where the rubber meets the road. We are $36 trillion in debt. I don't know if you can see that, but that's 106,121 for every single person in America. So if Elon Musk is successful in saving us money from waste, fraud, and abuse, and by the way, James, I hope that he is.
This is a complete cosmetic number. We're never going to pay down this debt. It's never going to happen. It's a complete made-up number. It's $36 trillion. That's not even real. Like, all of these are bullshit theoretical numbers. Like, what is this? It's not made up? Yeah, absolutely it is. Debt to who? Who's the debt to? Who's that? It's all made up money. It's not all the China. I don't like the approach,
but I like the fact that something's being done. There is no money in the till. We owe $36 trillion. We owe $106,000 each. So whatever the savings ought to be, it's not like President Trump's doing us a favor by giving us 20%. Everything ought to go to the debt because the Peterson people say...
That's a fair argument. If he wants to use this argument and say that the DOGE dividend is silly and it should be put entirely towards paying down the debt, like, I wouldn't agree with that because I think that the debt is just a cosmetic number that will never change. Like, this entire, you're never going to pay down $36 trillion. It's just never going to happen. Like, I'm sorry, it will never happen. It's not real. It's never going to go that far. It's just never going to happen. So anyway, that being said, inflation. Yeah, with inflation, everything like that, it's just never going to happen. That being said, I think the money should probably just be reallocated to people through, like, entitlement programs. It's not like they should just send people checks.
By 2050, 50% of all revenue is going to go to satisfying interest on the debt. We should be paying the debt. Your response?
My response is this. We should be paying the debt, which is why the DOGE dividend incentivizes every American to call out waste, fraud, and abuse, to lower the budget, to narrow the deficit, and to bring down the debt. Where was this emergency over the debt when we sent $350 billion to Ukraine to be wasted? Where was this emergency, Michael, on CNN when you guys were advocating?
You don't know economics? Do some basic research before saying nonsense. Do you realistically think that we are ever going to pay down $36 trillion? Just be honest with me right now. Do you ever think that's actually going to happen? You or your investments grade will be reduced? That's not the question I asked. Do you think that we're ever going to pay that down? That number is ever going to get erased? Japan, China own most of our debts? Yes, I think that you will. I don't. I don't think we will. I think the number is too big. We're not getting enough money. There's never going to be a reason to do that. A lot of the EU and Brazil can't really capitalize on that debt. It's not going to happen. Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen.
allocating $7,000 to migrants in Chicago, $7,000 a month per migrant. And now we want to spend $5,000 one time from President Trump to hardworking Americans. The migrants didn't deserve $7,000 a month. Hardworking Americans deserve a $5,000 check with President Trump's name on it. So enough with the double standard. Ukraine did not deserve $350 billion.
Okay, listen to me.
It's something totally different.
Listen to me. This is Madoff-like. This is a Ponzi scheme.
No, Ukraine was a Ponzi
scheme.
The migrant funding was a Ponzi scheme. Hardworking Americans deserve a break.
James,
it was their money, Michael. It was their money.
James, give me a chance to speak. Theoretically, it's my program. We don't have the money, is what I'm trying to tell you. It's a Ponzi.
So we didn't have the money for Ukraine, right? We didn't have the money for Ukraine. $350 billion.
I never do this. I don't want to be that guy. And do I have to silence your microphone so that I can respond to what you've said? Because there's so much fallacy in what you've just offered.
Please go ahead and refute it.
I have a very simple premise here. We're $36 trillion in debt. It's a fraud. As much as I want to see us cut waste, fraud, and abuse, it is an absolute fraud to say to the American people, because of what Musk is doing, we have $5,000 to give each of you. The only way we have $5,000 is if we're borrowing it, because we're that far in debt. I'm trying to meet you halfway, which is simply to say, what a good thing that finally we're going to look at waste, fraud, and abuse, albeit it shouldn't be in this haphazard fashion. But let's at least be honest with the American people that whatever we quote unquote save, we already owe. Now I'm going to give you 30 seconds to respond, and then I'm going to say, see you later. Go ahead.
Michael, let me say this. We're fellow Americans. We care about this issue, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to come on this program, but I got to speak truth here. At the end of the day, we have got to send the money back that is saved, just 20% of it. The other 80% goes down to paying the national debt and narrowing the deficit. To your point, yes, there has been a fraud against the American people, the Green New scam, Ukraine, the migrant crisis. Their taxpayer dollars were sent abroad, were not sent at home, were not spent in America, not on health care, not on education. That ends with President Trump's leadership today. He is delivering on his promise of major government reform, Michael. The DOGE dividend plan is bold, and Americans support it.
All right, I'm calling time on all of that. I appreciate your being here. I think we've each, I hope, made our respective points. Thank you.
I don't think we're ever going to get a DOGE dividend. I'm going to be totally honest. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the probability of it happening is so extremely fucking low. Right side guy, what is this here? Is the money was found when they have all the receipts? They don't find a cash stockpile? Well, it's money that we're spending on something stupid, and then we stop spending the money, right? I think that's generally what happens. Talk about debt once in 10 years. Once they start to care when their opponents' political points with fucking children. No, the thing is that, like, we're never going to pay back $36 trillion. It's never going to happen. The entire premise of this problem is fake. Like, I'm sorry. And if you guys think that it's going to happen, go ahead, clip it right now. Let's come back to it in 5, 10, 20 years. Yep, let's come back. Let's see if the number goes up or down. Because I bet it's just going to keep going up and up and up and up and up and up and up. That's it. And it's never going to go down. Will you be here in 20 years? If I don't get banned, maybe. Yeah, we'll see what happens, right? Or World War III happens. There's definitely that, too. And, yeah, that's it.